Hello, everyone, and welcome to Fix Your Site from Search to Sale, hosted by Gravity Global. Yes, this is a little bit different. If you have been getting our emails, they've been coming from Mojo Media Labs, but exciting news, we were acquired back in May. So this is now with the incredible world's most awarded B2B agency, Gravity Global. It's in from. We're going to go ahead and get things kicked off with really how do you get the most out of today? A little bit more on the introduction, some website reviews, an example website so that you can go and model your website after an incredible example. And then finally, we're going to end with some Q&A. So get the most out of today. I'm glad you asked. For starters, if you're like me, you have two screens. So I'd pull up your website on one screen, and then you can have this workshop on the other. So that as we go through this workshop, you can actually start to identify, man, here are some areas where I'm a lot like that website. And I could go ahead and take some notes on how to make some changes. And again, as you take these notes, I don't know if you're like me, I've attended many a workshop and got an incredible insight, and I didn't do anything with it. So the goal of today is to provide highly tactical things that you should be able to execute on this week. So if you schedule out time for tomorrow or Thursday, or maybe, hey, you want a nice leisurely afternoon where you can make massive impacts on your revenue and your organization, go ahead and schedule out some time for later this week so you can go ahead and make some of these changes. And the high level is the concept of today is we really just start at the beginning. We walk through everything and we really implement that across the organization. So this is just a simple process of starting at the beginning, identifying gaps and fixing those gaps so that you can then have continual growth throughout your marketing process. This is designed to help you create a better search engine result that will get more visitors onto your website. It's going to engage website visitors from the moment they land on the page because they're going to feel like, wow, they get me. They understand my problems. Or even better sometimes is if you say something on your homepage and it doesn't resonate, the goal is that you're actually getting people that aren't the right fit customers to say, this isn't for me. So you can actually save everybody a lot of time. This is also going to help educate website visitors on why they would need to buy your products or why they may not be the right fit. It's going to invite those qualified visitors into your buying process. And then finally, it's going to help you implement revenue driving tactics based on direct strategic consulting. So again, high level, a couple things we're going to do. We're going to do the grunt test. So who are you? What do you do? And how do I do business with you? We should all be able to answer that in roughly 5 to 10 seconds. We're going to help you then create customer focused language. We're going to help understand your buying process. And then finally, again, offer strategic marketing insight based on what we know works. We have in the past year, this is the 4th time we've done Fix Your Site. And between the 4 of us, we have, I think, reviewed well over 100 websites. It has been a lot of love and a lot of websites. So with that, who are we? And I'm glad you asked. Steph, will you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, I'm Stephanie Fisher. I'm the creative director here for Team ABM on Gravity Global. And I am the proud owner of 2 pugs. And that's my fun fact. Evan?
I, to definitely be outdone by Steph, only have 1 pug, but we do share that in common. So we have a lot of pug GIFs and chats in our Slack communications. I'm in St. Louis, as we talked about before. I'm our senior content strategist and lead here at Gravity Global on the ABM team, and I'm very excited to join you today. How about you, Gretchen?
Yeah, I'm Gretchen. I am an account manager over at Gravity ABM. I was a StoryBrand certified guide, and so that's why I'm here to help out today. I do not have pugs, but I do have 2 adorable dogs that are just as cute as pugs, if not cuter.
And my name is Mason Cosby. Every time we've done this, everyone has talked about their amazing pugs and or cute dogs, and I just have a cat. So I always feel left out, but here we are. I serve as the director of growth. So if you need help with your website or anything related to account-based marketing, you get to talk to me. So I'd love to have that conversation. You go to mojomedialabs.com/schedule a call, or if you just go to our homepage, you'll see a lot of calls to action that say schedule a call, and then you can hop on my calendar. So with that, we're going to go ahead and pass it over to Steph to do our first website review. So this is DNS filter. Steph, take it away.
Okay. DNS filter. Okay. I have a lot of positive things to say about this website. So really the critique that I will be bringing will be on the kind of like the nitpicky side. So this site's doing a lot of things well. So like Mason mentioned earlier, the first thing I'm going to look at is, does the site pass the grunt test? So one thing that I noticed about this website when you land here, has this very dark background. The hero banner has kind of this dark background with no images really to kind of set the stage or give me any kind of a visual context of what I'm looking at. So a lot of storytelling, it's not only getting the words right, but getting the visual aspect right. So how could we increase just that first impression, like improve that first impression with a visual that says, hey, we're all about securing your, about cybersecurity, defending your systems against malware. Like, what imagery can help reinforce that message? Because I do think this initial message is really good. It's very descriptive of what you do. As soon as I read through it, I felt like, okay, this does pass the ground test. I know what you offer. I know what you do. I know what problem you solve, and I know how to get started. I mean, it literally says get started in minutes is the CTA right there. The other great CTAs on the website are up top. You have a free trial. So I know I can get started just by going directly to that free trial, or I can book a demo. So if I don't really want to set up the trial and get started myself, I can book a demo and have somebody walk through it with me. So that was really nice to have those options. One thing I felt about this, just the messaging here, to dive in a little bit deeper. We do have 3 different messages that scroll. And so I don't know if it's just not scrolling anymore, but I did find that this particular hero message was hard to read within the time that I had before it automatically scrolled to the next one. So that's just one thing you have to keep in mind is, can people actually read through all the content before it scrolls past? And this is kind of a lot. Not only is it a lot of text, but you have your main headline is all caps, and then the blurb underneath is all caps, and that does cause a little bit of difficulty reading. So this is probably the better amount of text to have to read through if you're going to scroll. But anyway, those are, again, kind of nitpicky things, but definitely passed the grunt test for me as far as answering those questions. So as we start to scroll down, I'm not familiar with this particular brand, and so I really appreciated all of the credibility that is being added by this particular banner. It has like, we're featured in these publications. A little later down, it has kind of some stats around how many millions of users, case study. There's some like reviews. So there's a lot of great authority building throughout the page in those places where I might be starting to think, is this brand a big deal? I've never heard of them. It kind of already puts me at ease as like, okay, they're legit, For this particular section where it has the 3 different kind of value points, or, why I should pay attention: accurate, reliable, easy. I love having those snapshots of like benefits and, what's going to make my life easier. That's great to see. Again, I have to go back to the visuals, because this is where I feel like there's the most room for improvement. As you start to scroll down, I love that you're including human imagery, but every picture of a human is someone looking down at a laptop. So it does start to become a little bit, as you can keep going, Mason, and you can see like every example is someone looking at a laptop. So that's just something where you guys might think about how to illustrate people maybe working together, and how do you communicate security, and the technical side of what you do is probably very dry. So how do you communicate that in a way where people are like working together and not just maybe staring down at a laptop? I already mentioned a lot of the great credibility building that you're doing throughout the page. There's an example there, join over 15,000 brands who trust us, and then some big logos there. So that's really great. And then the very last section, I believe, is okay, here we have a case study opportunity. And then if you keep going, I think the very last section is yeah, start your free trial. The other thing that I thought was really creative about this website was the menu. If you scroll up to the top of the menu, just go into one of those, maybe over a little bit under threads, I think. You are offering transitional offers to download a white paper and different things in the menu itself. And I thought that was really cool. I haven't seen that before, and I really like that element that you have there. So overall, great job. And I think you just, the room for improvement that I see are with your visuals to keep pushing to tell that story. And yeah, that's what I've got. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Steph. Before we answer a quick question from the Q&A, Evan, Gretchen, do you guys have anything to add on DNS filter?
I do. To echo what you said, Steph, I really like content that's easy to consume. And there were several sections on this homepage where I was like, okay, I could easily digest that. Accurate, reliable, easy has a statement underneath it with additional value or explanation that most folks probably, unfortunately, are not going to stop and read, but the ones that do are going to say, okay, I see benefit, and then I understand why. And that was located several spots here where I was like, I like that we've got scannability, but we've got a little bit more depth for someone who really wants that information.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Quick question from the Q&A. Sammy asked, this looks like it's being viewed on a widescreen, which it is. There are lots of folks out there using widescreens to consume website content, but he says he's always conflicted when he considers how much effort to put into formatting for widescreen views. Do you think through that in the design revision process, and how does this rank in terms of priority from a layout perspective? So those are two quick questions. So why don't we go ahead and address again, do we think through those things for the design and revision process, and where does that rank in terms of priority? I think, Steph, that's a great question for you.
Sure. Yeah, that is a really great question, Sammy. And that's something that, we do think through from a design perspective. Like, do you want to do like a mobile first design, or are you thinking, from a widescreen and then, your smaller viewports down? So I really think it depends on if you want to play it safe, right? If you have like if most of your traffic is coming from a mobile user base, it's probably better to really invest that time on that mobile first approach. And then you always want to test and make sure it works, at the wider viewports as well. But it's definitely something that we build into our process, and it all depends on kind of, what you need to prioritize for your particular audience.
Fantastic. The third part to this question is, does B2B require more attention than B2C for something like this, or vice versa? I'm happy to hop in.
Sure.
We are specifically a B2B agency, so we don't typically work with B2C clients, but at the end of the day, what I would say is people are people. And what I'm finding more and more as we continue to have conversations with marketing leaders and executives, they are often doing some research on their phone as they're out and about, especially as COVID restrictions have lifted. There's a whole lot more travel. So again, I think research is happening on the phone, but I think the official, let's go ahead and schedule out a call, that's probably happening on a desktop. So from a content consumption perspective, I would make sure that you're prioritizing a mobile first approach, because at the end of the day, people are people. So next up is Evan. So Evan, go ahead and take it away.
Thank you. I would love to highlight the fact that each one of these websites we're reviewing today is drastically different. There are good things, and any marketing agency who says like everything that you're doing is wrong is probably just trying to sell you something. We want to add tons of value today. And the first thing that I want to note is I love that there are happy, smiling people in several spots on the web page. Oh, you can see it right here on that video. There's a couple snapshots where you can say, oh my gosh, there's clearly somebody who either likes their job or is happy or fulfilled. And that goes to that third element that Steph was talking about. Design, photography, visuals are really important, and we've captured that well in several spots on this page. Secondly, I don't have a full understanding of what we're doing at MitMitch, but what I do know is a couple of key points. We're talking about engineers, which is really helpful because that's listed several times in our header. And also we're talking about artificial intelligence. So 2 key concepts, if those hook me, they might just hook me long enough to want to scroll down the page more. I think both of those sections could get a little more concise and clear in the copy and the way we position them. But those 2 things are often missed by many B2B companies. There's lots of websites we review where they'll say the all-inclusive solution, and that's it. And then you don't have any clue what industry, what audience, who are we talking to, why would they be interested? So we start to hint at that. But I do think if we're going to go at optimizing, we could get a little more clear with maybe an H1, which is that bigger title there, that's aspirational, and a secondary or H2 that's a little bit more practical. That could look like something that says, oh my gosh, this is amazing. Here's why you're going to love it. And step 2 is this is practically, tangibly what you're going to get. And I think that's a really key combination to figure out how do we want to incorporate that formula somewhere high up the page. Now, with that being said, there are some things I want to optimize. And Mason, you just hovered over that first one. When you look at that menu at the very top, there's a lot of items in that menu. It doesn't mean that they're not all important. We do sometimes implement a mega menu of sorts, but it's got to be really intentional. And there's several spots there where I'm like, okay, that credential at the top right in blue is reserved in most websites for an action item, a CTA button, something that you do, and it stays with you. It's a sticky part of the header that goes through the entire site. I would reserve that space just for a CTA, something that says, okay, here's what we want you to do. This is the action that you take. And for those other menu items, I think there's several spots where we could actually condense that, throw most of them what we like to call the junk drawer down at the bottom of the website in the footer, and make it really clear and easy. It's almost like when you're sending like a clear path for someone to say, okay, I want you to take this route. Your website has to do the same thing. We can't give too many options, otherwise people will get lost really easily. We want to say, okay, there's 3 options for you to take. Are you this kind of person, this kind of person, this kind of person, or do you want this, this, or this? And make it really intuitive for them to say, here's the step that I take. Now, if you scroll in just a little bit, Mason, there's that orange bar that's scrolling. Just for fun, because I am a nerd and I like to do this, I listed how long it took for that entire thing to scroll across the screen. It was 57 seconds from start to finish for me to read that entire section. And in most cases, if you're going to have a scrolling banner, it's like when I was in Florida, alert, there's a hurricane, right? There's something really important for you to do. When I read this at the end, it felt a little bit like a letdown. I was expecting for there to be a deal, a special offer, something really important for me to take notice of. And I didn't quite get that from this. And it took 57 seconds. In most cases, you're only going to have someone's attention on the homepage for a matter of seconds, not 57 seconds. So I don't think that's going to like serve their audience really well. Now, if we go down a little bit farther, what I think is both a swing that's a miss and a hit at the same time is that we're trying to add value, right? Which it's very clear on the first website that Steph was looking over. It did a good job of that. We see evaluate, search, and resolve. So there's even alignment in the kind of words they're using. But the problem is, and I've reviewed this in depth, all of what we're talking about here is about what Rudy does, who uses Rudy. There's not a whole lot of focus on a major problem that we're trying to solve, an issue that we're trying to tackle. And the reality is, in a story-based marketing approach, which is what we employ here at Gravity, no one is really going to take hold of your message and say, that hits, that resonates for me, unless early on you insert some sort of pain point. Now, it doesn't have to be over the top, but it does have to say something along the lines of, you're experiencing this, or we know you're struggling with this, or in your industry, we're dealing with blank. And I don't see a lot of that. So it goes a little bit more to the feature benefits. And what we really want to do is talk about solution oriented benefits here. So the other part, it's not on audio right now, but that video auto plays every time that I reload the homepage. And it was a little bit jarring. My daughter came in earlier this morning when I was reviewing it, and it went off again in my earbuds. I was like, oh, so there may be some user elements here where I'm like, okay, the video has some really good content, but we probably don't want to autoplay it every single time it reloads. Oftentimes, the other thing here is when I'm reviewing a website, I find hidden gems where people have created really good stuff. They just put it in the wrong spot. So most websites are not complete trash from top to bottom, and this is a perfect example. I loved certain elements of the video, and I would have actually pulled out some of those to be part of the homepage copy and not just buried deep in the video. I really didn't understand what you were doing until I watched the video, and I was like, that could be a headline. That could be a benefit. So I think there's some things there that you could pull from to repurpose. Mason, why don't you scroll in just a little bit farther for me? And then Mason, cut me off if I go a little bit too long here. Okay, why Rudy? Transform Excel-driven engineering. It starts to bring this idea to me that you're speaking to multiple audiences. I got this vision when I was looking through the homepage. I was like, I feel like it's a little tech heavy, it's a little technical. There's some jargon in there, which can be okay depending on who your audience is. And there's other elements where I thought, okay, maybe an executive is designed to be looking at this. And in most cases, what I'd love to have happen is if you have multiple audiences, then we need to really clearly state that this product, this service is for both or for all of these groups of people. Are you a C-suite leader, a technical leader? That way we can make sure that we're not like accidentally like isolating someone who should be reading this. And as I read the entire homepage, I wasn't really sure, is this for some like unique audience? Is this for an entire group at the company? And I think that's going to help us really clarify the copy, because every website needs three things: the right message, which we spent a lot of time on, the right content, and then the right design and visuals to bring it all together. And so if you scroll a little bit farther, what you're going to see is there's a clearly distinct visual for most of the homepage. And we won't go to every single page on this site, but if you go to the other pages, oftentimes there's a change in visuals. The iconography and the illustrations that you see in the rest of the site aren't showing up on the homepage. And so I think a clear brand process is going to say, okay, we use these colors, we use these fonts, we use these kinds of images. And throughout the site, it felt like just as I was getting a hold of what your style is, it changed on me. So the photos that you see here, which are very stock image heavy, are not the illustrations that I see on the rest of the site. So that would certainly be an area that I would like to optimize. Let's scroll a little bit farther down, Mason. Okay, how Rudy works. When you get to that section, what I loved was there was a number of elements that you pulled out as a bullet point, but it was still pretty text heavy in that spot. And it was at this point in time, because you can see the Mint Mesh logo above, I was trying to decipher in my mind, how does Mint Mesh connect with Rudy? I think based on how much we're using the name Rudy and how little Mint Mesh is used, that is something that probably either needs to be clarified or changed or revised. Because I still, even after looking at several pages, I still don't know how you want me to view these, either as two separate brands, one distinct brand with individual components to it. And I often was thinking of that AI Jarvis. I know that lots of folks have seen that website where it's built by another company, that they use their AI like name of Jarvis as like a consistent theme, but they're really clear and how they position those two. I don't know that that's the exact use case here, but that is an example that struck me where I'm like, okay, if we're going to use two names like that, we need to be really clear and intentional about what that is. And also for Mint Mesh, it's really hard with the logo to be able to actually read that throughout the website. And we're on the desktop version here. So there may be some thoughts to how we position that. Also, if you can go a little bit farther down, there it is, that CTA. There were numerous spots. This is going to be the easiest fix on the website, where there were typos and grammatical issues that I think would be pretty easy to remedy. No more how the magic happens isn't a clear CTA. You could say something like, we want to stick away from learn more, but it could be take a test drive, see a demo. I think there's a lot of ways that we can incorporate CTAs already on the page without having to reinvent the wheel. And there's several CTA buttons here that either don't work or there's typos actually in the copy itself. So in this case, if you've already got content listed here, you can run that through Grammarly. You can have someone else who has an eye for copy and design say, okay, let me take a look at it and double check that work. There were a number of spots where I'm like, oh my gosh, the copy would instantly become a next level up if there weren't so many typos and errors. So ultimately, there's a lot of really good things here, but I think there's also a lot of areas for optimization. Mason, do we have time for 2 more things real quick?
We do.
Okay, can you go over to the subscribe newsletter button at the bottom?
Do you want me to click it?
Yes, if you could click it, yeah, that would be great. When you click it, join the Mesh family. I am in. Not only did I sign up for your newsletter and not get anything, but I went back and reread, and it said that the newsletter comes out twice a year. And so my thought is, if you're going to put this much focus on a CTA and push for it, there probably needs to be a little bit more clarity, because otherwise I don't know that someone's going to opt in if they're only getting 2 emails a year, unless it's really clear why they're only getting 2. Or worse, if you email them every day and you say you're only getting them 2, then that authority and trust might start to dip a little bit. So I think that's one of those things where I'm like, okay, connecting all the dots, it starts with a website, but ultimately you may end up doing socials and email, like for example here. I think it's really good to have a connected strategy there. And then lastly, if you go to the blog page, Mason, I wanted to show an example of what that technical work looks like. Like there are some subdomains here that weren't entirely clear to me, but if you scroll to the bottom of the blog, there's several technical things too, where you can see that there's actually scrolling between 2 sections. It's duplicated there. And then below it, it says download our super informative ebook. I think that can sometimes get a little bit counterintuitive. If we say super informative, we want to be really clear, direct, and make those CTA buttons at minimum 3 to 4 words to make it really easy to click through. So I think there's some copy and messaging optimizations, but also some easy design and development options too. So I love a lot about this. And also I think there's some quick wins too.
Evan, I love the breakdown, and I just greatly appreciate the way that you've highlighted all the great things. And at the core, if we can shift the language to be more customer focused as opposed to why Rudy, what does Rudy do? I think that's going to be a huge win for the business. So
I do too.
With that, I'm going to pass it over to Gretchen for First Franchise Capital.
Yeah, thanks. I think a lot of what you're going to hear in my review is kind of going to be an echoing of some of the same things that Evan said, but that's because when we look at it, getting a good website is easy. It just takes a little bit of work, refining that messaging and all of the brand elements. So as always, I'm going to start out with the positives. One of the things that I really loved about the website was there was a lot of white space. I was not overwhelmed by this technical jargon hitting me right when I landed on the page. There's lots of room for my eyes to go, which allows my eyes to go to those little icons that you have: buy, build, sell. There's a lot of simplicity here, which I think is powerful. You didn't try and overthink it by just putting a lot of text here. And I think that's a really common mistake. The other thing that I really loved was you have your CTA up in the top right, get a quote. And then you also have a secondary CTA right in that hero banner, connect with a loan specialist. So I think you're really doing a good job speaking to both audiences of someone who's ready to go ahead and get a quote and get started, and someone who's maybe looking to learn a little bit more before they go ahead and sign up for a quote, knowing that they're probably going to be contacted by a sales rep there shortly. The other thing that I thought that you did really well was your empathy was really well stated on this page. You have right under those icons, how we can help. You've worked really hard to build your business. That is a super powerful statement. I'm sure that there is some business owner out there that is like, thank you. Like, I needed to hear that. And so I love the elements of empathy that you have throughout your website. Even this, peace of mind, always connected. You're really speaking, I think, to the emotional part of your buyer, which is always super powerful. The points of improvement that I had, Mason, you can scroll back up just a little bit. That hero image is really tiny. This is such a prominent place for you to display exactly what you do and also show imagery. So my recommendation here would be to make this hero banner a little bit bigger, and use some human imagery. You sell to humans. So maybe, someone's sitting down, signing a piece of paper, opening their first restaurant. Because what I found too, as I scrolled throughout your website, it seems to me like you specialize in restaurant franchises. And that was not clear to me when I saw the grow your franchise. There can obviously be several types of franchises. And so if this is a niche that you specialize in, I would go ahead and put that in your hero banner, with some imagery to support that. And then I actually found this beautiful statement elsewhere on your website that I think would go great here. Is this grow your franchise? This is an aspirational, you're going to get your business leaders excited when they hear that, because that's their ultimate goal. So it's an incredible aspirational statement there. But then I found this statement. It says fulfilling the unique capital needs for quick serve franchise restaurants. And so that was incredibly concise. I knew exactly what it is that you do reading that. And so that would be a great sentence to put in your hero banner. The other thing that I thought about is this buy, build, sell. Those are great. They just take up a lot of space on your page. And so I would consider making those into a value stack right under your hero banner, because those are the three things that you're kind of offering to your buyer, or your customer. So I think you could condense that a little bit, and then that would make room for the next, I think, most important improvement, which would be to talk about your customer's problem. Like I said, you do a great job empathizing with your customer, but we're not talking about their problem. And so I know you know what the problem is, because you're saying you've worked really hard to grow your business. And so before you talk about how you can help address that problem and empathize with them, you want to make sure that they understand that you know where they're coming from. Here are the problems that you encounter as a franchise owner. And so I think there's a lot of room there, especially condensing that buy, build, sell, to add in a little section about your customer's problem. The other thing that was hidden on your website is the authority piece. When you go into loan solutions tab and look through all those, you've got real estate solutions, I think like refinancing debt solutions. When you click on one of those, you guys have worked with some incredible brands. You've got Domino's, you've got Burger King, like you're working with the big leagues. And so you can see there, you've got your Domino's franchise. So I would actually encourage you to take some of the logos for these franchises that you've worked with and take these numbers and put them on your homepage, so you can establish that authority, because that's really going to match your empathy that you're coming in. So people will know you're extremely qualified to help solve their problem. The other thing, if we go back to the main homepage, is we kind of go through this peace of mind. We've got the if you scroll down a little bit more, Mason, the subscribe to email, contact us resources. You kind of list out your financial solutions, but I think something that would be really helpful is giving your customers a 3-step plan of how to get started. If that for them is getting a quote, you've said multiple times across your website, getting a customized plan. But I think giving them a visual of this is how I can get started, and this is the process that I need to go through, is going to help clarify what they need to do in their next steps. And then the other thing I was going to say too is, because you have such a simplistic and a good way website, is I think there's an opportunity for you to interlink some content throughout your page and provide some what we'll call bingeable places for your customers to hang out. I think a lot of people are spending more time researching and figuring out who they're going to do business with. And so the more information that you can provide for free for your customers, you're going to establish more trust with them in that process. And so if you have, some of these case studies or success stories from, the brands that you've worked with, like Domino's, Burger King, any of those, that you can highlight or say, like, here's how, so-and-so grew their franchise, learn more. You want to create kind of a platform for those people to interact with your website, and allow them to do research so that they can learn more without having to click a CTA right away. The last thing that I wanted to point out was just to bring in some more success and failure language as well. And what I mean by that is kind of talk to your customers a little bit about, don't settle for whatever the alternative is. And this is kind of what you're going to continue to do if you start to work with slimy loan specialists who will just take your money and run. And so you want to paint a picture for your customers of what's going to happen if they don't choose your service and what is going to happen if they do work with you, because I'm sure that they have a lot of options of who to get a loan through. And I think there's a lot of people who probably want that money. And so you need to help them make that decision by saying, hey, here's what you're going to lose out on if you go with someone else. And here's what you're going to win with if you choose us. And so, yeah, I think overall, there's a lot of quick wins throughout this website. As Evan said on his website, there's a lot of language hidden in here that's really powerful. And so I think even by just shuffling a few things around and adding a couple sections, this will go from an average website to a really great website that is probably going to convert a lot more customers. Steph, Evan, anything to add?
You did a great job, Gretchen. I completely agree. There's so many good foundational building blocks for this site. Oftentimes there's so many sites that are busy and broken that you're like, okay, there's really like not a whole lot like there seems to be a lot here that you can build on with a solid foundation.
Yeah. Awesome.
Amazing. Well, we have got 2 more websites to review. So I'm going to fly through Access Soft Tech, and I saw that Nathaniel was on with us live. So I am excited to walk through your website with you here, and really at a high level, I think it is incredibly beautifully designed. I mean, this website is very clearly modern, very clearly tech, lots of white space. And we talk a lot about happy, smiley people, but especially with technology, there is some nuance, because I know people really also love to see the platform and how it functions. So again, happy, smiley people or product in action, I think are fantastic. Here is my grandest nitpick. Access the future of digital banking. Is this B2C? And I'm getting to work with an incredible bank that makes my life amazing and easy? Or is this B2B? And granted, by the nature that I see a CTA that says request demo, I can intuitively get that it's going to be B2B, but I don't get that immediately. I see access the future of digital banking, and I don't know who that's for. So it could be modernizing legacy banks or modernizing local banks to create a better customer experience. Something that calls out, who is this for? Because at this moment, most people, not everybody, but most people use banks. So if we have access to the future of digital banking, it doesn't actually call out anybody. So to that point, additionally with our header, we've got about, solutions, news and events, partners, other services. Couple of things. I think about news and events, those can go to the footer. My past life, I actually served in a fintech company. I know how important it is to have the appropriate partner integrations. So I like that totally makes sense to keep in the header, but other services is very vague. So we have solutions and services. What this could be potentially is you have a services side to your business that helps with the modernization of your banking. So it could be platform and services, and then request demo. So again, I think that there needs to be a clarity of language in our header. As we scroll down, then we get to see, okay, this is financial institutions grow twice as fast with us. That's amazing. 10x growth in 10 years without VC. Amazing. Finalist. So now we're getting into some authority of the awards that you've won. So again, I know this is going to sound odd, but I would focus in on, is this about authority or is this about the benefits to the customer? Because that's some context switching in my opinion. So I would keep it of, we help you in these ways, or we are we are the authority that you should trust for these reasons. So again, that's nitpicky. All in all, it's a great website. Innovative products, fully integrated. Again, I think it's also specifically vague. Again, that doesn't call out how you're an innovative product, how you then integrate into systems. So I would try to get more granularly specific to call out the audience and the people that you're specifically trying to engage. So biometric authentication manager, conversational banking, easy vest, real-time fraud control. Again, I think what this sounds like, to Evan's point on a previous website, these are potentially different audiences and different products, and you might be trying to segment those people out. So again, trying to help get them to where they need to go. But I think that you can say something to the extent of, we serve X people in these ways, and then help to segment them in that way. Our dedication to innovation will drive your digital transformation. I think you can flip that. I think you can say, driving digital transformation through a dedication to innovation. Because again, that transitions it from, we help drive your digital transformation, as opposed to, we are innovative, and flipping the language to focus on the benefit to the customer. And again, there's some subtext, and I think that there's good pieces to pull out. So again, we're actually calling out institutions, both large and small, closest to your community's hearts. So I think that it is very focused around community-oriented banks. But again, I still haven't figured out exactly who you're serving. And then if we reload the page, this is going to get, again, really nitpicky, but this kind of freaks out whenever it does the counting numbers. So I would try to figure out from a design perspective, because it is kind of jarring. But again, 500 or 400 plus financial institutions, over 6 million active users, and more than 350 dedicated team members. So again, I think that's great authority and value. And then you've got some great logos, but then that's the homepage. So there's really nothing in the footer, which I think is a huge missed opportunity. You could really clean up the header and add a whole lot more information in the footer. There are repeated calls to action, which I think is great, but I would probably repeat more calls to action throughout the page. And then the last piece is, like we talked about, give us a 3-step plan. It's request a demo, get a customized solution, and be up and running with digital banking in 90 days. Something that helps me understand, is this a 1-year process? Is this a 3-month process? Or I've even spoken with potential clients that have a 5-minute process where within 5 minutes, they can get the technology set up. So again, help me understand, what does my life look like? Because when I request a demo, I know that there's a lot more after that, but I don't know what it is at this moment. So help me understand. At a high level, again, though, beautifully designed website. I know that you digitize banking. I don't still know at this moment who for. And I think that there's a lot more that you could add to the homepage to call out the specific audience you're trying to engage. Evan, Steph, Gretchen, anything that you would want to add to this?
I think those are really good call outs, Mason. And I think the main thing that you hit on that really struck me is just that, being very specific and turning what's already really solid messaging to that customer focused messaging. And sometimes that's just using the word you, like, very intentionally, like,
yes,
give your customers access to digital banking, the future of digital banking, or whatever. So it's just like putting yourself in their shoes and speaking to what they need.
You is the best word in marketing. Wherever you can say you, do it. Any other thoughts?
I think you both covered it. Really great.
Amazing. Nathaniel, I hope we can still be friends. Final website tour. That's a beautiful looking website.
Yeah.
Steph, will you go ahead and take it away?
There are two 10X systems out there. Okay, so this is a brand new website that we just launched for our friends at 10X Systems. And we really followed, the story brand framework to tell the right story. They're a new business. They work with direct to consumer e-com products and brands. And so what they offer is, if we read through, the messaging here, they want to help people 10X their business with less stress, and really emphasizing the ease of plugging into their systems and their infrastructure already to help you grow your business. So we have, some call outs here that are speaking directly to their customers, explode sales and capture more customers, optimize your operations and multiply profits, focus on your business passions. Very clearly, that is what they want their customers to get out of it. And then schedule a call is how to get started. So if we go on down, we basically went through, our process of, messaging and getting all of that, what their brand message was going to be in place, to be able to tell the story through their website. And they had they definitely had a let's get it launched and learn approach, so which was really great for us, to be able to get something out quickly to help them get started. So the next section here is talking about those pain points. What are the challenges that you're facing, and this is how we are here to help you, and how to solve those pain points. So we keep going, and you can see like the full suite of solutions. We're getting a little deeper down into what it is that they offer. And so, you can see that they have 3PL and fulfillment, call center, and, all of those different solutions as part of, or services as part of their full package. If you keep scrolling down. So we have now a little bit of authority. This is kind of a newer company. They actually rebranded, so they've been around for a while, but they're rebranding. So they want to, have that authority of, a client testimonial here about how they're highly recommended. And then the next section is that 3-step plan that we talked about earlier. So I'm going to schedule a call, but what happens after that? How do I get plugged in? So you schedule a call, we help you get plugged into the 10X systems, a little bit about how that happens. And then the third step is, scale with less stress. So it really can be, of course, we know that there are probably like 25 actual steps in the process, but all of the only thing that the visitor needs to know is kind of the basic outline, those basic stepping stones that lead to success. So that's what we want to give them the confidence to just click that schedule a call button, because they know a little bit about what's coming up. They're really wanting to own this term that they had kind of coined with scaling as a service. And so we built a pillar page around that particular topic to really help to educate people about what scaling as a service is, and this is how it helps you. And then the page ends with a call to action to get started, schedule a call. You can schedule it right there. So that's the home page. And really for this particular client, they were starting with, they had a very basic rudimentary website that they had not worked with. They just put it up on their own, and they really wanted to help dial in the messaging with the story brand framework. And that's what we helped them develop. And then we designed it.
Amazing.
Any questions?
Thank you, Steph.
Yeah.
So if you look at 10X Systems, or if you looked at the other websites and you recognized, man, I really need to improve my website, you've got really 3 options. One is I'd highly recommend you actually go look at the 10X Systems website, because it's a framework approach that is proven to work and engage specific customers. So if you want to start today, I'd highly recommend you go to check out this website and try to mirror what they've accomplished, because I think we can all agree it's a beautifully designed website. It's got very clear, concise copy, and it's helping them scale. So that would be option one. Option two is if you recognize I don't have the time to do this in-house and I really need some help, there are two approaches for this. The first is a blueprinting process. So we work collaboratively to figure out what are your in-house capabilities and what do you need to partner on. And through that process, we then get a very clear roadmap and a very clear timeline of how do we build the perfect website to scale your specific company. The third option, which many clients run through, is called our Beyond Basic. So it's not a basic website. It is more than that, but it is a fairly standard approach. Most companies need this kind of a messaging framework. They need their homepage built out based on that messaging. They want it in something that they can easily control, like the HubSpot CMS. They want it designed from the global setting so that they can easily run with it. And then they really want their core pages built out for them. So maybe your services, your products, your about, those kinds of core pages that get high traffic. And then they've got the in-house capabilities to run with the rest. So again, if you have the in-house capabilities, go check out 10xsystems.io. If you have a really complex website that you would love support with, I'd highly recommend scheduling a call to talk through that blueprinting process. Or if you recognize, man, we need a website up in the next 10 to 16 weeks, then I would highly recommend going with our Beyond Basic package that can really get you that foundation and an incredibly designed and appropriately messaged website. So with that, what additional questions can we answer with the last 5 minutes that we have for Fix Your Site? If there are no questions, I think everybody would love 5 minutes back in their day. So we'll give it one more minute to submit any questions you have. I would like to thank everybody for joining. This is always a super fun workshop to do. So again, we've got a thank you. So Linda, thank you. Again, appreciate you guys joining in. I'm going to take this as that there are no questions and we solved every website problem. So everybody go build incredible websites. We've got one person that has a question. So sorry. We will hang out for the one question.
Oh,
Lots of thank yous, man.
what's the one thing we should take away here?
So the one thing, whatever is your header language, I'm glad you brought this up, Matt. Whatever your header language, transition that to be essentially the description for your search result. Because whatever you're going to spend a lot of time on that header language to call it the specific audience and exactly how you serve. And it's typically fairly concise. And then what you end up doing by using that as your search result snippet is when they click on it, they're then met by the same language of like, oh yeah, this is exactly what I expected. So it helps to build that trust from the first click. And again, if you can then from the point of engagement on the search result into the homepage, grip them because they trust you, they're going to continue to scroll down the page. So that's the biggest takeaway I would run with. And also take a lot of time on your header language. That's really important.
Yep, the hero banner. I think someone asked too, what is the hero banner? And that's that first impression really, where it does a lot of the heavy lifting of passing the grunt test, answering the main questions that people want to know when they land on your site. So I agree with you, Mason. I think that's probably the most important thing to focus on.
Amazing. We have one additional question. I'm not a big fan of CTA buttons. I feel like most websites use them as a hook to pull you into something that you don't want, signing up for an email, buying something, attending something. How do you feel about being more laid back with calls to action? I think we all have really strong opinions, but Evan, I saw you first.
Recognizing the delegation from St. Louis. I feel like most of the time when people are asking this, there is other things below the surface. And it may not be the case here, but most of the time it feels like, okay, I don't want to be too spammy or I don't want to overload someone. When the reality is, if you have a really good product and service, which most of the clients that we talk to do amazing things to help their community and audience, your CTA buttons are not a spam, but they're an opportunity to serve them well. It's almost like going to a Walmart and saying, okay, I need all these things. They're going to better my life, or my wife would say Target would probably better her life more than Walmart. But you go to Target and then there's no cash register, right? You can't actually execute or implement or take those things away and actually use them to better your life or your business. I think it's the same thing for your CTAs on the website. Don't tell my wife that I espouse Target, but I think in this case, it's really important to have CTAs that are clear. So to your point, Mason, earlier, you can be really clear that this is for this kind of person and not for this kind of person. And if it's the wrong person, then clear messaging and copy will steer them away from actually taking that call to action.
Couldn't agree more. I mean, I run marketing and I do sales. So as somebody that has set up CTA buttons that say request a call, and then I'm on the other end of the call, I don't feel bad about selling something because I know we're helping people, even if it's potentially tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars, because we return for our clients hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars. So I'm okay to say schedule a call and be consistent in that and have it frequently throughout the page, because I know when we get on the call, if they're the right client and we're the right solution, they're going to be benefited. So I don't feel bad about it. I feel actually really good about it. Well, that is our time. So again, if you have additional questions, feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn, shoot us a message, email us at mason.cosby@gravityglobal.com. And if there's any specific questions for any of my friends on here, I will forward the email on to them. Again, thank you for joining today, and we hope you all enjoyed. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye, guys.